Let me say good afternoon and welcome to this evening's Muskogee Municipal Authority meeting for August 10th, 2020. At this time, we will recognize the retirement of John Pearson. I'm going to ask that in the interest of social distancing that our council, if they would like to be in the backdrop of the photo, that they just stand where they are on the dais or on the floor. Or we can stand down and stay 6 feet apart. So I am so happy tonight as the mayor of the city of Muskogee and on behalf of the city council, city manager, and all of its entities to present John Pearson with his retirement recognition on tonight. I've known John for quite some time. He's always been a good fellow to me, and I appreciate him so much, appreciate the long hours of service that he's given to the city through the Muskogee Police Department. This says the city of Muskogee honors John Pearson. Life is not measured so much by the quantity of days, but by their quality. Thank you for your years of service to the city of Muskogee. Tom, would you like to say something?
Thank everybody.
Thank everybody. Council who'd like to be in the photo, if you want to stand 6 feet apart or stand where you are, you're welcome to join us at this time. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout. Here. Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hoos.
Here.
Alex Reynolds.
For the benefit of our listening audience, Councilman Reynolds is on the call, but he has somehow found a way to mute himself. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Muskogee Municipal Authority minutes, regular session July 13, 2020, and special call session July 20, 2020.
We have hopefully all had an opportunity to read the minutes. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any comments? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 2.
Consider approval of MMA claims for the month ending July 31, 2020.
We have had a correction to the claims. I'm going to ask the city manager to come forward at this time and discuss that change.
Yes, sir. First off, let me take a point of privilege to discuss our protocol here at the microphone today. We're asking everyone who comes to the shared microphone to cover the microphone and then move the covering after they're done. We've experimented with this. Hopefully, it will not tamp the audio down too far. Forgive me for getting off subject, but I just wanted to have that point of protocol. Yes, we have before you the claims for the month. And what you see before you reflects our calculation to retain the rate increases for the capital projects, which is what we've done before. We had to readjust that calculation because we've had a new increase that's gone into effect. So that really is kind of the difference that you see between the two claims amounts. It's the same amount of money. It's just you see more is now being held for capital projects as we have budgeted for and as the council has requested. So with that being said, these are the claims, and we do recommend approval and be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have any comments from council or a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Abstain.
Alex Reynolds, Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, and the item passes. That will conclude the Muskogee Municipal Authority meeting. We will now call to order the meeting of the Muskogee City Council for August 10th, 2020. I'm going to ask that you join us for the invocation, the flag salute, and then we'll proceed with our meeting. Let us pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for this day. Thank you, O God, for the city that we call Muskogee. I pray your blessing, O God, upon our city. Father, that your hand will be with us, Lord, that we might be blessed. Even during times of pandemic, God, I pray for your presence to be with us, O Lord, that even in this time, you will bless our city to find a way to grow, to flourish, and to prosper for the residents, for the people we serve, for the place that we call home. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Let us prepare for the flag salute. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let me say before we do the roll call, Councilman Reynolds believes that the mute is on Zoom, and he thinks that he fixed it. So I just want to share that with those in the sound booth on tonight. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Here.
Ivory Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds. Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
We have the minutes for our approval on tonight. Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any correction to the minutes? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. We will now consider the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 8. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda, or are there any items that we need to move to the regular agenda?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I want to pull item 4.
Item number 4. Mr. Tucker, do we need a motion on that, or we just move?
Nope, no
All right.
motion. Any council member can remove anything from consent.
That will be items 1 through 3 and 5 through 8 for the consent agenda. Any other further discussion? Roll call.
I'm sorry, I missed the motion.
I'm sorry.
Motion to-
Approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds. Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Item number 4.
Consider approval of amended Council Policy 3-6-3, Sexual Harassment and General Harassment Policy, or take other necessary action.
Ms. Pluckett.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Before you this evening is the revised City Council Policy 3-6-3. It's the harassment and sexual harassment policy. As I stated last week, this policy is for city employees. Sorry, I have a hard time breathing in this. And it references the definition of harassment, what to do in cases of harassment, when liability may be placed on somebody. The additions to the policy, in June of this year, there was a United States Supreme Court decision that came out that said gay and transgender workers are protected. So we added that within our language. And also, after discussions with City Council, we have added a couple of additions in there. in regards to what may be constituted as harassment towards city council members. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Mann?
Yes, this is for Mr. Tucker. He's going to explain this, Kelly. I'm glad you put this in here because councilman and mayor up here, we don't have any right to be harassed by citizens or employees of the city. You know, and I got a saying here, my complexion for my protection. That's my saying up here. Because my complexion makes a lot of difference up here on all of us. But I'm glad that we put this in here because, like I say, it's bad when you have employees come after council. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Mr. Tucker and let him explain that because, like I said, I'm glad this is in place. It took harassment to get this in place, but it should have been in place years ago. So by the city attorney's legal, I don't want to say nothing out the way, so I'm going to let him do the talking for me.
In addition to some of the things that Ms. Plunkett spoke about, there were 3 additions to the definition of what constitutes harassment, and they were added to this most recent policy. They are K, L, and M. K is advocating for removal of a member of the city council or other elected official. L, investigating the plausibility and or solidarity of a member of the city council or another elected official's position of office. And M, involving oneself in the private lives of a member of city council or other elected official. Now, as the council is well aware, under the charter, there are provisions that prohibit council members from giving directions to employees. There are also provisions that relate to what can be discussed with the city manager as it relates to any discipline or promotion or appointment of any employees to the city manager. Now, the council has the right to be heard, but cannot direct. And so the inclusion of these provisions that are included in this proposed harassment policy are intended to fill a gap between our current work rules, which don't expressly address conduct that is going up the chain rather than conduct going down the chain as the charter addresses. And so these provisions were placed within the harassment policy rather than in the work rules, because in the harassment policy, it can be reported to any member of senior management, and an investigation is required if there's any allegation of violation of the harassment policy. So it has to be fully investigated, any conduct that is alleged to have occurred within that. There is a caveat, of course, as there are in many type policies. This is not intended to address conduct that is protected under the First Amendment. It's constitutionally protected in areas such as the First Amendment, I meant to say, particularly on matters of public concern. Now, in a 1995 lawsuit involving the city of Muskogee that went all the way to the Oklahoma Supreme Court, there were restrictions on, well, the question came about with what restrictions could an employer, being the government, place on its employees when dealing with First Amendment concerns. Because, as we all know, the First Amendment says, you know, the government cannot restrict free speech. So if you're talking about a private employer, they can restrict in many other ways that the government can. So the question that was brought up to the court in this 1995 case was, you know, what speech is protected for for employees who work for the government? And effectively, what the court held is that speech has to be, in order for it to be protected, it has to encompass a matter of public concern, and the employee's interest in expression must outweigh any injury the speech could cause to the interest of the government as an employer in promoting the efficiency of public services performed through its employees. Now, matching that with a provision in Title 11, which states that municipal employees may attend and express their views at council meetings and any other public meetings of municipal entities. So because of the provisions that we have included and those within state law, we feel like the restrictions on those 3 areas do not overburden free speech rights or other constitutionally protected conduct. Instead, this is not intended to stifle speech in any way. It is instead designed to promote accountability for public employees dealing with their publicly elected officials. So I think that, Councilor Van, is the information that you were looking for. I am happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Roy, for making that so plain, because I wanted the citizens of Muskogee to know, I want the employees of the city of Muskogee to know about when you harass city councilman, harass the mayor, it's wrong. And I want, see what this mask says, good trouble? Well, I'm gonna be good trouble up here tonight. If I got to, I'll be necessary trouble. But like I said, I just want to make it plain that the employees know now, and that the citizens of Muskogee know that we set up here free of charge, and we do not deserve to be harassed in any way. So I'm glad you brought everything. Thank you, Ms. Puckett.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, Roy, for making this plain for our citizens of Muskogee and our employees. And thank you also, Mr. Miller. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mayor.
Mr. Van, since you pulled this item, will you make the motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve this item, sir.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan,
Yes.
Alex Reynolds,
yes,
Evelyn Hibbs,
Yes.
Jamie Stout,
Yes.
Ivory Van,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed,
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 9.
Receive report on the COVID-19 pandemic in Muskogee, and if necessary, take appropriate action to authorize and approve a subsequent amendment to Resolution Number 2801, declaring a local emergency, or City-County Joint Resolution Number 2803.
The only thing I'll say in advance of Mr. Miller speaking on tonight is that we believe Muskogee will survive COVID. We will survive COVID. Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of council. I appreciate being here before you today to talk about this national pandemic and how it's affecting us here locally. I'll let Mr. Evans come forward with some numbers here in a minute, but a couple of things I wanted to update you on. Number one, we have a partnership with the state through the CARES Act for the federal relief that's supposed to come to cities. You may have seen an announcement last week that the city's been approved for up to $2.8 million worth of reimbursement or thereabouts. We are working with the state to bring that money here. They put a lot of restrictions on that money, so we are working to make that happen. Thus far, we've been approved for a little over $700,000 according to their informational portal, but they've not released the funds to us yet. So I want you to know we're working hard to make sure that we have the money here to offset the expenses that we have had locally to fight the pandemic. That being said, the health crisis still continues to some degree, and I'll bring forward Mr. Evans, our emergency manager, to give us more information on that.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'd like to start off by talking about the reusable mask, like the one I'm wearing, that was mailed out Wednesday and Thursday. So last week, over 12,000 envelopes containing over 60,000 of these masks were mailed out to our citizens. Some of those started going out Saturday. I talked to some people that lived on the west side of town, received those in the mail Saturday. I know more of those were delivered today, and I'm hoping over the next couple of days that all 12,000 of those will be delivered to our residential water customers here in town. We have an additional 7,000 envelopes, or a little over 30,000 masks that are being distributed across the city. Today I made contact with the Muskogee County Housing Authority, dropped off some masks there for all of their tenants there. The Muskogee County Transit Authority, they can have on their shuttle buses and their vans around town that can pass out to residents that should need them. The Gospel Rescue Mission and Monarch I made contact with today, and each one of those locations got some masks to pass out to the residents and clients there. Tomorrow I'll plan on making contact with some of our apartment complexes and passing out the masks there. I know some of the concerns was that, hey, I live in an apartment complex, I live in a rental property, and my water bill is included in my rent. Therefore, I don't get a water bill, and I wasn't on that list at 12,000. That's okay. We've got 7,000 of these envelopes to make sure that our residents get some of those. Like I said, we'll start doing that this week. To talk about the total active cases in front of you, I passed out the graphs and charts from earlier. Good news, we're down 16 active cases since last Monday. We're down to 85. Last Monday we're at 101, so we're starting to see this trend go down. If you look at that top chart there, you can see the active cases on the very right-hand column. We're at 101 August 3rd, went down to 99 August 6th. The next day we're down at 95. That was on Friday, and today we're down 85, so we're down 10 since last Friday. So we hope to continue that trend going down. Also, this is just a little over a week, but we're watching it closely as it goes down. That first chart there at the bottom is our cumulative cases graph. As you can see, it doesn't have quite as sharp as a curve as it did there from July 27th to August 3rd. We're hoping to see that line level off and remain flat. If you turn your page over to the back, that will show our active cases in the city of Muskogee. As you can see, it kind of reflects the change from August 3rd to August 10th of it going down, and we hope and continue to see that line continue to go down. Are there any questions as far as the number of cases or masks or anything before I turn it over to Doug Walton with the Muskogee County Health Department? If there's not, I want to remind our citizens that there's a couple places here in town. I'll just name the ones that come to my mind right now to be tested. Is Muskogee County Health Department. You can be tested. I'll let Mr. Walton speak on that. You can also go to the Express Wellness here in town to be tested, and you can also go to Urgent Care on South 32nd that is also doing COVID testing. That is some of the places I know. You can also go to the DLO, but you have to have a recommendation, last time I checked, from my doctor to get the test there. So there's at least 4 places here in town that you can be tested for COVID. With that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Doug Walton with the Muskogee County Health Department.
Thank you, Tyler. Mayor and council members, yes, we are back to daily testing at the County Health Department, 8:30 to 10:30 a.m., free curbside testing, no appointment necessary, and no symptoms required. We are also doing the rapid testing. Those do require an appointment by calling the health department 918-914-2160, and for the rapid testing, it needs to be someone that is either positive or has had close contact with a positive case and is also 65 or at high risk. Tyler's is correct in reporting that the trend is kind of moving downward a little faster at the city level than the county level. It looks like we've dropped about 4 cases since last Monday for the county as a whole. We are continuing to see fairly high rates of positive testing for the testing that we are doing. We're averaging about 8.5% positive of the tests that are conducted. That's the period starting June 1st through the present. Prior to June 1st, for the roughly 540 tests that we did from the beginning until through the end of May, the rate of positive testing was about 0.74%. So we're now at 8.55%. And have conducted about 2,200 curbside tests. I do think that's about all I have to report, and would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Walton. That concludes my update. If there's no other questions, I'd like to turn the floor back over to Mr. Miller.
Mayor and members of council, that concludes our staff report. We have no recommendations at this time, but we'd be happy to address any issues or questions that you may have.
Mr. Miller, let me say, is there a way that we can post on the city's social media page how we're going to get the masks to those people who live in apartment complexes, because they're beginning to ask us those questions?
Absolutely. So Mr. Evans has got a team that will be working with that tomorrow to work directly with the apartment complexes to try and have the management of those complexes assist as much as possible. But then anybody feel free to reach out to us directly through social media or through the switchboard and call and ask for Mr. Evans or myself, Mike Miller, and we'll figure out a way to get them to you. We want them distributed, and if people want them, we'll figure out a way to get them to them.
Thank you. We have any questions from council regarding this item?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Miller. After the meeting, I'll still see some problems out there on the street, and I'll relate them to you right after this meeting, because it's definitely still some problems out there with.
Okay, I'll be happy to hear it. Thank you, sir.
No problem. I'll turn the floor back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you, Mr. Miller. Item number 10.
Receive report on the status of the City of Muskogee Animal Shelter Project, as well as new programs associated with the opening of the new facility, or take other necessary action.
We are so fortunate here in the city of Muskogee to have had the Gladys Beatrice Shadden Trust to contribute over $250,000 towards the opening of our new animal shelter that's going to be here in the city of Muskogee. We are going to open that facility with a ceremony on August 18th at 1:00 p.m. And I want to personally take this opportunity to thank Weldon Stout, who is the manager of that trust, to be certain that we have those types of facilities here in our city. We know that animals are concerned, and this takes us one step forward as a city to be certain that we have opportunity to eliminate as many problems that we have as we can that exist in the bottleneck for taking care of stray animals. And having said that, it is my privilege at this time to read a proclamation of thanks for those funds, and thanks for Weldon and those who have been working so hard to bring our animal shelter to reality here in Muskogee. The proclamation says, whereas pets make life better by giving people love, companionship, and comfort, getting us outside for exercise and helping us build social connections, and whereas animal workers and advocates in our community work tirelessly to keep pets healthy and safe, and whereas in furtherance of that commitment, the Gladys Beatrice Shadden Revocable Living Trust, Weldon Stout trustee, has gifted more than $250,000 towards the renovation and construction of new facilities at the Muskogee Animal Shelter. And whereas these new improvements have allowed for an addition of 28 kennels, a cat room, a veterinarian office, a surgical suite, and recovery center, and whereas the additional space will allow the city, by partnering with local veterinarians, to offer easily accessible, low-cost, and in some cases no-cost spay and neutering services. Now, therefore, I, Marlon J. Coleman, Mayor, on behalf of our sitting city councilors and the constituents they serve, do hereby acknowledge and commend the work of Mr. Weldon Stout, trustee of the Shadden Trust, for his foresight, leadership, and dedication to our animals and companions. In witness thereof, I here to set my hand this 10th day of August 2020. Help me in celebrating and thanking Mr. Weldon Stout and the Shadden Trust.
I just appreciate all the help from the city. The animal shelter employees have met with us and spent a tremendous amount of time. So as the attorney manager, obviously architect drafted it. As we all know, the City of Muskogee Foundation provided half the money as well. So thanks for all the help. Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
Item number 11.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I may, I brought some
Yes.
pictures of the animal shelter
Yes.
to give an update so everybody can have a visual of what we're looking at.
Oh, behind, under Mike's stuff.
There we go. Sorry about that.
As mentioned, this was made possible with a generous donation of the Gladys Beatrice Shadden Revocable Living Trust in the city of Muskogee. It does host 22 regular kennels for animals to go in. We got a separate room for 6 sick or quarantine animals. Has a cat room, has a pre-op room, a surgery room, and a recovery center. So I'd like to share some of the outside pictures that we took today on the status of the animal shelter. As you can tell, this is the outside of the facility here, looking from Border Street. And this is the looking to the east from the west. This is some of the kennels you can see there. They're both inside and outside kennels. There's a way for the employees to raise up a door and let the dogs inside or back inside, both sides of the facility. And this is from the existing shelter, looking there back to the west. This is an overview looking straight down on the shelter. We see the new sidewalk work that our public works crew did. They helped out with that tremendously. Also there in the front is the asphalt area for backing up to the garage door. That will also be the recovery room. This is some more of the work that facilities and public works helped out with. The new sidewalk going into the facility, the lava rock that was laid. Under that, you can't see the drains that the public works did to drain it properly. Like I said, this is a view back from the road. It's a very beautiful facility. I can't wait for you guys to attend on August 18th to have the grand opening with us. But I'd like to give some special thanks to some of our city employees that really helped get this project finished. Animal Control, we have Animal Control Officer Philip Blair and Jerry Job. The Facilities Department, I'd like to thank Jimmy Thomason, Dustin Williams, Robert Ashley, Johnny Cooper, Kenneth Woodworth, Jesse Gilstrap, and Mike Page. Without these guys, we'd still be working on the facility today. They did a lot of work with the fencing out there, the utilities, the HVAC closet, and the list just goes on and on and on that these guys helped push this project across the finish line. Over in Public Works, I'd like to give thanks to Mike Stewart, Stephen Morton, David Garner, Jerry Scott, Chris Ward, David Davis, and Sarek Martin for helping build the sidewalks, construct the sidewalks, the drains, the asphalt parking lot, the maneuvering area. Like I said, the list goes on and on. So without these, our city employees here, we'd still be working on it, and I'd like to give them special recognition thanks to getting this project finished. I look forward to seeing you guys on August 18th and can't wait to show you the facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any other comments from council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, may I recognize?
Yes.
You are definitely right. The Public Works Department with that concrete, over the years, I've seen the magnificent job that Public Works does with that concrete. I say that all the time, and you know I'm picky, but you see how nice that look?
It's nice.
It don't look like no jackleg done it. That looks like a craftsman done it, and I'm proud of that work, the way that work looks. I'll turn the floor back over to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone again for all of their hard work in this effort. Now, item number 11.
Discuss and consider approval of an amendment to City of Muskogee Council Policy 7-1, Purchasing Manual, relating to inspections of paving, street, or road construction projects, or take other necessary action.
We had a similar item to this that was presented several weeks ago to council. We went back and revisited with staff as well as the city manager to be certain that we can do this in a way that the staff would actually be able to recommend what those inspection services would be as we move forward with our streets projects. I'm going to bring Mr. Stewart forward to talk about those particular changes at this time.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So as we did in the last street project, or the street program that we just approved today, we went in detail on how we were going to inspect the project. And we intend to do that on every project that comes before you, whether it will be in-house inspection or whether we'll actually use some type of contract inspection. And a lot of that depends on the funding source. Some of the funding sources do require us to get independent inspection. So really think this is a good idea. It'll keep the street program moving forward and should get us some better workmanship in the project. So I appreciate the effort council's put in to improve our street program, and I'll answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Stewart at this time? I move for approval.
Second.
Any other discussion from council? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Vance.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jarek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, and the item passes. Item number 12.
Consider approval of a request from the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame to apply for City of Muskogee matching grant funds or take other necessary action.
We have one person signed up to speak to this item, Mr. Dan Morris. I'm going to ask the council, do we want to hear Mr. Morris first, or do we want to move with the presentation? Councilor Stout, this is your item, so.
Yeah, we can go ahead and let Dan speak, and then the Hall of Fame would like to, apply for the matching funds as like we have our other organizations as well.
Mr. Morris, if you will come to the microphone and give us your name and address. And you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Well, that's how I do things. I'm here as a
Dan,
representative.
I'm sorry, just for the record, we need your name and address.
Dan Morris, 3308 Monta Avenue, Muskogee.
Thank you.
And I'm here representing the Board of Directors of the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame, of which we have 2 other members here, our president or chairman, Mike Miller back here, and Jamie Stout. And I just thought it would be appropriate at this point to kind of bring everybody up to date on what's going on at the Hall of Fame. It's been a sort of a tough time because of the COVID, obviously has impacted our income and our ability to put on shows. But we have a group of board members that are actually just fantastic. Everybody that's on the board of directors is a servant type board member. So what that means is that we're out there working. So we're working to improve the hall. We were very close to insolvency not long ago. We are now into a 5-figure bank balance. We're not out of the woods by any means, but we will certainly put this matching funds grant to good use. One of the reasons that we have funds to match is because of fundraising efforts on behalf of the board for the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame. And one thing that I want to say from a personal perspective, I've only been on the board for a couple of years, but I've been a fan of the Hall of Fame for a long time, and I always feel like it's been an underutilized asset for Muskogee, because what I do in my company is I deal with people from all over the world, and every chance that I get, if it's Thursday night and we have visitors in town, I'll bring them to the Hall of Fame. We've actually done some fairly big events there where we've inducted one of our really good customers as a honorary Okie from Muskogee. He's a huge Merle Haggard fan. This thing was big for him, and he went back and he bragged about it to everybody that he knows. So people that come in, by and large, from out of town that I bring there are amazed that we have a venue like that. And now it's sitting down there kitty corner from this beautiful Depot Green and the beautiful across the street from the Little Theater. So our goal with our limited resources is to do what we can do to make that place better, and that begins with simple things like Andy Sanchez, who's on our board, went out and did weed eating and cleaned up the outside, and looks really good. Tomorrow night, a bunch of us board members are getting together and we're going to do a purge of some of the stuff that's in there. We did a walk around to kind of evaluate, what can we fix within the realm of what we can do. So any funds that we can get, I'm here to tell you that we will use them wisely and that this is a tremendous asset for the city. And our ultimate goal is to be in a position to hire an executive director so that we don't have to do it all as volunteers. As much as we love it and we're willing to put in the time, if we had an executive director to reach out to different funding sources, to people, other businesses that could potentially come in and do events, that place could really be on the map. So thank you again for giving me these few minutes to speak, and I hope that you will, however it's said, approve us to get approved. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dan.
Dan. Councilperson Stout.
Yes. So as Dan said, the matching funds would help the hall, meet some renovation needs and to move forward and to bring in, more tourism to Muskogee. So with that, I move for a motion for approval.
Second.
Councilor Reynolds, I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded twice. Do we have any further comments from the council? Roll call.
Tracy Hoos,
Yes.
Tracy McGee,
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Thank you, Councilperson Stout. Item number 13.
Consider approval of an amendment to the East Smith Ferry Road off right-of-way drainage improvements agreement dated January 20, 2020, signed January 27th, 2020, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Stewart.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This item is needed. As you know, we're working with the Creek Nation and Hilldale School District to redo Smith Ferry Road, and our responsibilities on that are the drainage and the off-site drainage, which is a detention basin that we intend to build to collect all the water. Unfortunately, fortunately, we've been planning this project for about 20 years, and we had identified these specific sites to put this detention basin that long ago. The city engineer at the time actually looked at all that area, the topography out there, and decided that the site that was in the original agreement were the best locations. Unfortunately, when we got this all going, they started developing as residential property. So now we need to look at someplace different to develop it. So this amendment is simply to look at some property in that same area to move that detention basin so that we don't interfere with those two residential properties. We think that we have this worked out. This agreement is with Olson and Associates, again, for the Smith Ferry Road project. It's got a total dollar amount of $17,000 that will be paid out of the stormwater account. And again, that is our responsibility with the MOU that we have with the Creek Nation. We're going to get new drainage, a new road. It's a great project, and I do recommend approval and try to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Do we have any questions from the council for Mr. Stewart?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, and the item passes. Item number 14.
Consider approval to receive a German Shepherd Police Canine from Woodland West Pet Resort Incorporated for the Muskogee Police Department Canine Program, valued at $4,000, or take other necessary action.
Chief Teehee.
Council and members of the council, Mayor, this is a canine that one of our old employees that went to a highway patrol, who's now a supervisor over their canine unit, came across. These are donated dogs to a kennel. Typically, a canine with the training will cost us anywhere from $10,000 to $18,000. This one we have free training with. We're going a little bit out on a limb because we know we're pretty confident in its ability to be a drug dog. The dogs we typically use are dual purpose, which means they're used for patrol, for bite, as well as track, and for drugs. But under circumstances, there's a possibility it could end up still being a dual purpose, but at the least we'll have a good canine that does track or drugs. Be happy to answer any questions.
Chief Teehee, I want the audience to also be made aware that when we receive a canine, that's the equivalent to receiving an officer.
Correct. Yes, and as you well know, and we appreciate your attendance at the ceremony for Ollie recently. We lost one of our canines during a training exercise a month or so ago, and this is the dog that will be replacing that canine with the same handler.
Thank you. I move for approval.
Second.
Do we have any other discussion from the council? Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes, the item passes. Item number 15. I'm sorry. Before we go into executive session, we have one resident who has signed up to speak to us at this time. Stephen Ezel, I'm going to ask that you come to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Stephen Ezel, 6121 South 6th Street East, Muskogee, Oklahoma. The main reason I'm up here this evening is I would like to remind you all of some upcoming American Legion Post 15 activities that will be transpiring very soon. Tomorrow evening, we will have the installation of our officers, both Legion and Sons of the American Legion, of which I'm actually being installed as commander. That'll be at 6 p.m. at American Legion Post 15, 4021 West Broadway. Well, I've invited our mayor, and I'd like any and all to come out. The American Legion is open to basically anybody in this city who are veterans, their families, because it is a veteran service organization, and we need good members. The second event upcoming, of course, is on September the 6th. That's a Sunday afternoon at our post. We were celebrating our 100th anniversary. We received our permanent charter back in 1920. Now, that being said, what is the American Legion? What are our purposes? Very simple. For God and country, we associate ourselves together for the following purposes: to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to maintain law and order, to foster and perpetuate a 100% Americanism, to preserve the memories and incidents of our associations in all wars, to inculcate a sense of individual obligation to the community, the state, and the nation, to combat the autocracy of both the classes and the masses, to make right the master of might, to promote peace and goodwill on earth, to safeguard and transmit to posterity the principles of justice, freedom, and democracy, and to consecrate and sanctify our comradeship by our devotion to mutual helpfulness. That is who we are. That is what we stand for. It would take too long to spell out all the programs that we do, but simply put, we are veterans and veterans' families helping other veterans and veterans' families. And I invite you all to be out at these events. It'd be well worth your time. And if any employees have any questions about, who are veterans, have any questions about membership in the Legion, you have my contact number. They can call me personally. Thank you. God bless. And God bless Muskogee, Oklahoma, USA.
Thank you, Mr. Ezell.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to recognize a couple of people here tonight. Would that be okay?
Yes.
If it's not any discussion, as long as you're just recognizing folks.
No, I'm just wondering. I'd like to recognize Mr. and Mrs. Dawkins. Ms. Dawkins, I put her on the Martin Luther King Trust Board last week. You remember? Because Councilman Reed suggested that she be on there, and Councilman Reed suggested you be on there. Hey, I know you'll do a great job. So I just wanted people to know who you were, because I didn't know who you were when I come through that door. But I'm glad to see you and your husband here at here at the City Council. When new people come up here, I always try to go out in the audience and introduce myself and welcome y'all to everybody to the council that I've never seen up here before. So I just want to say, on behalf of the mayor and the City Council, welcome to the City Council.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, also, not only are they, he said they're new to the community, Tisha's coming back home, and so we'd like to welcome her back home. She's a 1989 graduate of Muskogee High School. She's working at the high school, and her husband is working in the athletic department, so we're just, excited. We always say people move away and never come back, and so they're coming back and wanted to get involved in the community, and we're glad to have them back in Muskogee. Welcome home.
And they attend a pretty good church.
Which one's that?
Item number 15.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. Pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25, Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of John Pearson, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So move.
Second.
Roll call.
Tracy Hoos.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Ivory Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Derek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. Will you please excuse us as we go into executive session at this time? I'll reconvene from executive session. Roll call.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Jarek Reed.
Yes.
Irie Van.
Here.
Jamie Stout.
Here.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Here.
Alex Reynolds.
Here.
Stephanie Morgan.
Here.
Tracy McGee.
Here.
Tracy Hous.
Here.
Mr. Tucker.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 15, pursuant to Section 307B4, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, the City Council did convene an executive session to discuss the workers' compensation claim of John Pearson. After being briefed on the status of that claim and the discussions that council have had relating to settlement, I believe an appropriate motion would be to approve authorizing the city attorney to settle the workers' compensation claim of John Pearson in the amount discussed in executive session.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Roll call.
Tracy Hous.
Yes.
Tracy McGee.
Yes.
Stephanie Morgan.
Yes.
Alex Reynolds.
Yes.
Evelyn Hibbs.
Yes.
Jamie Stout.
Yes.
Irie Van.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Jarek Reed.
Yes.
Mayor Marlon Coleman.
Yes. The item passes. That will conclude our meeting for tonight. We wish everyone a good evening.